The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
You've always got time for short time.
Hey, it's Warren Lopez.
David Taylor.
Brent Metcalf. Johnny Hendricks. Tony Ramos. Bubba J.
Mike Golick.
Matthew Modine.
The one and only Chael Sonnen, and you are listening to the one and only Short Time Wrestling Podcast by the often imitated and never duplicated Jason Bryant.
Episode 278 of the Short Time Wrestling Podcast. We are back from Rio. It was a long, strange, wonderful journey for some of us. I didn't get hit by any mosquitoes the entire trip. And the guy we have on the show today, Olympic champion, the youngest in American wrestling history, Kyle Snyder. Kyle, it was a big deal going down there. All the media reports saying that Zika and there was crime. I mean, how many mosquitoes did you get hit with? Because I don't think it was that many.
No, there wasn't many mosquitoes at all. There were days where I didn't see basically any bugs while I was down there. I mean, the training facility we were at was kind of in the middle of the jungle, so I probably saw more mosquitoes than most, but still not that big of a deal. And then the crime and all that stuff really wasn't a problem at all. So it was a good experience, great experience.
So going in, I mean, did you have any hesitation going into this place, or were you just like, you know what, I don't believe any of this. That's not going to be a problem?
No hesitation, no worries, wasn't stressed at all. Just excited to get down there.
And obviously we're not talking about your performance yet because there's a lot of good things to talk about your performance. But as far as Rio goes, I've been down there twice, having the test event in February with the women's tournament and then the Olympic Games. I mean, what were your general impressions of the country, the people, and the general state of Rio de Janeiro?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a really nice place. I mean, there are beautiful sights to see there, you know, Copacabana Beach and Ipanema Beach and Christ Redeemer and Sugarloaf Mountain were all awesome to see. I thought they did a really good job hosting the Olympic Games. You know, I stayed in the village for 5 days, and all that negative stuff about the village really wasn't that true. Everything was fine, you know. And then, I mean, other than that, I didn't get to go to any of their events, but I watched them on TV, and they looked like a lot of people were there, and a lot of people were having fun watching them, so it was cool.
Yeah, one thing I noticed in my hotel room, it's different from what we see. Before I left, I'm watching on, NBC and the app, and a lot of American-based stuff, and then we get down there, and it's like, wow, Serbia and Hungary is actually on TV down here, or anything Brazilian. I mean, the crowds were going nuts. I was on the train when Brazil won the bronze medal in soccer, and the train erupted. I mean, we don't see that in the United States. With our soccer team wins, everybody's like, ho hum. I mean, the national pride down there is something that was really cool.
Yeah, for sure. That was really cool. Especially any time a Brazilian athlete was competing, the crowd would get really excited. You could tell by watching on TV and then also being at the event with wrestling. And yeah, I mean, especially with soccer, that's like their national sport. So you would think they would get pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of nuts. But a couple things that are kind of nuts. Big news that's come down the pipe. It's not I don't think pen's been put to paper yet as we record this on August 30th, but it's been announced or at least reported that Lou Roselli, assistant coach at Ohio State, your coach there at the Ohio Regional Training Center, is going to take a head coaching job at the University of Oklahoma in a very quick turnaround. Mark Cody left just under a month ago, and then now Louis, who's been a finalist for so many head coaching jobs around the country the last 15 years. I mean, this has got to be kind of what was your mind? What was your opinion here? What happened? I mean, how much did you know going in that was he applying for this job, and what's this going to mean for you?
Well, I didn't know I knew Mark Cody had left Oklahoma when I was at the Olympics, but I didn't know Coach Roselli was going to be applying for the job, or they were going to be asking him for the job. And really, I wasn't even thinking about that when I was down in Rio. But then when I came home, Coach Ryan let me know that Lou was interviewing for it. And I think, he's a great coach. Obviously, he's a head coach caliber type of guy. And if he's excited about it, and he's going to do awesome things there. So I'm excited for him, and I'm excited to see. It's good for me because that's another place where I can go train, where I know that I'll have a great coach, and I know he'll build up the regional training center, so I can go over there and get different feels with different guys.
Yeah, I noticed you said another place you can go and train. People are going to immediately think, it's like, okay, is he going to follow Lou? You're a Buckeye through and through here.
Buckeye through and through, but I like training. I like training different places. I'm not opposed to going anywhere and training for a week or 2 weeks at a time, just to learn from different people and change things up.
So as we move into the post-Olympic world, going in, you'd won a world championship 2015, which was kind of cool last year when you did it on September 11th, getting to hear the Star Spangled Banner, patriotism flowing everywhere. And then going into the Olympic Games, was there any added pressure that you felt because you'd won a world championship at such a young age and knowing that you had taken some losses throughout the year to be like, okay, how did you handle your preparation going into these games compared to what you did for the world championships a year ago in Vegas?
I felt less pressure, I think, or at least the same. I mean, I didn't feel much pressure last year at the Worlds, and I didn't feel much pressure at the Olympics either. I think that the biggest events are where I feel the least amount of pressure, typically, in my wrestling career, at least for the past 2 years. So that's how it's been for me. And I don't feel really that much pressure at all when I wrestle in smaller events, but I think that people think when you're wrestling in the Olympic finals or world finals or NCAA finals that you would feel pressure, but I don't really feel it. I'm just excited to compete, and those are the moments that I love being in.
And you had a unique situation. You came out of the Olympic red shirt, abbreviated schedule, and then you and Nick Gwiazdowski had one of the greatest heavyweight matches people can remember. And let's just compare those moments. You've got 18,000 people, Madison Square Garden, and what's the biggest wrestling event in our country. Yet you've got probably 12, 13,000, I'm assuming, at Karaoke 2, a worldwide audience at the biggest wrestling event in the world. What were those? How similar were those feelings? How different were those feelings on winning each of those events?
Well, yeah, I mean, competing at Madison Square Garden was incredible, but I think, just it being the Olympics makes it a little bit different. Just the name, the Olympics, makes it a little bit different than the NCAAs, because the NCAAs happen every year, Olympics every 4 years, and you're representing your country, which is a little bit different than representing your school. So that makes it a little bit different. It's hard to describe the feelings after the matches and how they seem different. I mean, I was obviously happy after both of them. And I mean, other than that, the wrestling was the wrestling. So it was fun.
Now, going back to the NCAA championships, you had commented beforehand that you'd never had a pin in college, and there you go, first round of the NCAAs, you get your first fall. I mean, it was kind of an interesting year. First fall, okay, you still can't even legally get into a bar yet, and yet you've got an Olympic gold. And not that saying that you need to go into bars or anything, although I hear the varsity club is quite good. Matter of fact, I know it's quite good, but. Moving away from that part of the discussion, I mean, it's been just kind of a weird year. I mean, how do you encompass the last 12 months and be like, wow, you've done more in 12 months winning a world championship, Olympic title, and the NCAA championship than people do in their entire careers or aspire for their careers. I mean, how do you put that in perspective to realize, man, I'm just 20 years old, man?
I don't know. I don't really think about the things, my accolades or winning tournaments or stuff like that very often. I think about the future a lot because I still want to compete for a long time. So I catch myself thinking about the future a lot, but I don't really spend too much time thinking about the things that I've accomplished. I try to spend most of my energy thinking about the ways that I can improve, because there's a lot of ways I feel like I can improve, and that's the things that excite me the most, and that's the things that I want to be remembered for the most. I want to be just above all, more than winning the Olympics and the Worlds. Above all, I just want to be remembered as a good wrestler because of my technique and because of the way that I approach matches.
Now, you left good counsel out in Maryland where you basically won everything, national preps, Beast of the East. You were the number one guy in the country. You decided to go to the Olympic Training Center your senior year, actually attended Coronado High School, even though you could not compete for them, courtesy of the Cejudo rule, which means if you're at the Olympic Training Center for anything, you can't compete in that sport. Although apparently I understand you would have been eligible to play soccer or football or something if you'd wanted to.
Yes, I would have been. Football probably would have been the sport that I would have played, but wrestling just took too much of my time up. So, yeah, I wasn't eligible to wrestle, but I was eligible to play other sports.
What was your time like there? I mean, with being a high school senior away from home, in the national preps, it's not uncommon. We've got a bunch of boarding schools and private schools. You spend some time away from home, but you're across the country. I mean, how did that experience help you grow as a person, and how difficult was it actually being away from home?
It was difficult in the beginning, but I never really got home. I never really get homesick when I'm away from home. I'm pretty good at just relaxing where I'm at, and I mean, I love my home, and I love going back and seeing everybody. But it's nothing. I don't really get homesick or anything about it. So, it was definitely think it helped me grow and become more of a man, I would say. Just having to do things on my own, having to take care of myself, having to just make decisions on my own with knowing that my parents aren't here to watch over me. And in that sense, I think it made me a lot more prepared for college because it's pretty similar lifestyle. And the experience at Coronado was great. I mean, I had really good teachers. The students were pretty cool. I only went to like 3 or 4 classes every day, so I was only there for about 2.5 hours every day. So I didn't really get to know that many people, but it definitely served its purpose so I could train at the training center and wrestle with some great guys and learn from some of the best coaches in America.
It didn't hurt, though. I mean, I'm sure you were sitting there going, man, did you get to go into the wrestling room at all? Because, the Buraks wrestled there. It has a good wrestling tradition. I mean, do you have any chance to mix it up with any of those Coronado guys while you were there?
I went into the room a couple times, but I didn't wrestle with any of the guys. I just taught some stuff, but that was it.
Teaching guys that some of those seniors might have been older than you. I'm sure you get a kick out of that.
Yeah, it's all right, though.
So as we get rolling, you end up winning a junior world championship. Then the next year you don't repeat, but then you're starting to hit the senior level. You're starting to hit things, and first match beat the street. Your first senior level match beat the streets, Times Square. I mean, and you've got one of the best of all time from Russia. I mean, did you think when people look at that? I looked at it going, whoa! This is this too early for Snyder? I mean, what were you thinking going into this? Like, were you feel you were ready for that then when it happened, or was that just part of the plan?
Well, Novograd's got Soloff to come over for a match, but nobody wanted to wrestle him, I guess, because they had asked other people older than me, and they had asked college guys, and I guess they all said no. And I had just won that junior world title, so they were like, well, does Snyder want to wrestle him? And I was like, definitely, because I knew who Soloff was. Obviously, I'd watched him wrestle a bunch, and it was going to be exciting to wrestle outside in Times Square. So I definitely wanted to take that opportunity. But I mean, I think Soloff was definitely better than me at that time period. He was stronger and a very good wrestler. So I think I was ready to compete with him. I mean, he didn't tech fall me or anything, but learned a lot from it, and it was a cool experience to be able to compete against him.
So as we move into the Olympic Games, you took 2 losses this year, one to Boltakayev and then another to Haytak Gazumov, who you met in the Olympic finals. And I talked with Terry Brands about on the World Wrestling Resource Show about how getting your hands on somebody or taking losses might have improved it. How much did getting your hands on those guys, especially Gazumov and Odikadze from Georgia, who you had to wrestle in the Olympics, ahead of time help? Was it the loss to Gazumov that made the difference, or was it just getting your hands on him, be able to know what this guy feels like?
I think just getting my hands on him. I don't think whether I win or lose doesn't really make a difference, but the more I can wrestle somebody, I'm pretty good at making adjustments, and I feel like every time we wrestle, I'll begin to widen the gap. So and Gazumov's pretty tricky. He's got some tricky offense, and he's got really good defense. Hard to get to his legs, and he slows things down a lot. So
he's big too, man. He looked so much bigger than you out there.
I know people say that, but he didn't feel much bigger. I felt just as strong, if not stronger. So, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
I mean, he looks like the ultimate movie bad guy when he comes out there on the mat. I mean, he's grizzled. He looks like a wrestler. I mean, he's 30-something years old. I mean, the guy has been there, done that. It's like this guy keeps coming up, the movie villain, like in recurring roles.
Right. I know. It's pretty crazy. That was his eighth world medal. Third Olympic medal. So he's a beast.
So, and you said you want to wrestle for a long time. If you do the math, Gazumov's 33 years old. That means you're going to be wrestling to just reach where he is at right now in his career, age-wise. That's 13 more years of this. I mean, right. Have you say you looked to the future. Have you actually looked that far in the future yet?
I don't know if I even can look that far into the future. But yeah, I mean, that's something that I want to do. I say I want to wrestle for as long as my body possibly can. So as long as my brain is still motivated and my body can still handle the training and I still have the love for competing, then you'll see me trying to make teams and trying to improve.
When Jordan Burroughs came out, he said he wanted to be the most successful wrestler in American history. He wanted to go after John Smith's titles and his record of 6 straight. Have you given that much thought, or you just kind of be like, I'm not going to make any public comments about that. I'm just gonna keep rolling.
No, I think any wrestler has a lot of wants. They want to win a state title. They want to be a 4-time state champ. Want to be national champ, world champ, Olympic champ. I mean, I want to be the greatest wrestler in the history of the world. And I mean, I got a lot of wrestling to do before that, and I got a lot of things that I need to improve on before I can be considered that. But me saying it, I mean, I don't like saying it often because it doesn't really help me obtain it. I don't think, at least. I try to just work as hard as I can and let the rest take care of itself.
So when you look at it, they usually group athletes into different tiers. Smith with a little lighter weights. Burroughs is solidified just what's been in a monster weight class traditionally for the United States, and then the bigger guys. You got Kurt Angle as a world Olympic champion, and Baumgartner and his string of medals. Who do you feel is like kind of your wrestling idol? What wrestler did you look up to when you were a kid watching, be like, I want to be like that guy?
Cael Sanderson was the guy that I wanted to be the most like. And then I kind of like watching just all the wrestling greats, Doesn't matter what weight class they are. I liked watching Satiev wrestle. I like watching Batirov. I thought he was really good, and Gatsalov and Gadisov. So aspire to be a lot like all those guys.
So you say you're watching Gadisov, then you have a chance when you have to wrestle this guy in the World Finals in 15. I mean, that's got to be. I mean, do you ever get nervous right before that? I mean, what are the butterflies like when you're stepping on the mat for a World or Olympic final?
Yeah, I get a little nervous, but mostly it's just I'm excited. I have no fear of them as an opponent for me to wrestle against. And I'm just excited to see if my moves can work against them. I've watched them wrestle, and I've watched them do a lot of like a lot of great stuff to good opponents, and I like that challenge of seeing whether or not I can stop their offense and score points on them.
Now, a lot of the debate when you see wrestlers like you and Henry Cejudo who went training center and kind of, you're wrestling in college, and Henry totally skirted it, but there's that times like, all right, we need to focus on freestyle. What do you love? You like winning world and Olympic medals, and you like winning NCAA titles. What's the more fun style for you to wrestle? What do you prefer, folk style or freestyle?
Freestyle by 100%. I like wrestling freestyle more. I like traveling overseas and wrestling foreign competition more than I like wrestling domestic competition. And folk style is still fun and it's still wrestling, but freestyle for sure.
Now, how do you think this country would be? And at your infinite wisdom, at your young age of 20, depending on your answer, it depends on how people will think of your response or how actually smart you are. But what do you think if this country went freestyle or in Greco with the youth wrestling all the way through, like a lot of countries do? Granted, a lot of countries have their traditional folk style wrestling, whether it be sambo or sand wrestling. But how many more world medals do you think this country could win if we were going freestyle and Greco from the start instead of going folk style and switching over when we're like in high school or after college?
I don't know. I think we would definitely have more medals than we have now. So I think wrestling only freestyle and Greco would for sure help us become better freestyle and Greco wrestlers. But I don't know the amount of numbers. How big of a difference it would make, I don't know, but I definitely think we would have more medals.
But there's still something fun about wrestling. I like folk style, I like freestyle, I like Greco. It's just some parts about folk style I really enjoy. I can't stand riding time, but there's still something about the way our fans react compared to sometimes waiting for a paddle to go up and a stuffed animal to go across the mat. So there's some nuances to both, but obviously,
right. Yeah, definitely.
What would you think of the challenge thing anyway? The Venetius, the stuffed animal that was coming through. You've probably seen a bunch of different ones. That had to be like, what the heck is that?
I know, that was crazy. They weren't even different colors. They were just the stuffed animals, I guess.
My daughter has two of them, by the way.
Oh, really? That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, she saw one thrown on the mat. She's like, well, she called it Vinicus because when I came back in February with one from the little shop, it's like, here you go. And she's like, I said, I think its name is Vinicus. And so she's like watching it on the mat. And she's like, Vinicus is on the mat. And I'm just like, my wife texts me, is like, yeah, she just saw the mascot on the mat. So that's got to be weird as an athlete, be like, oh, we're in this battleground of wrestling. And then you see this stuffed animal fly on the mat from your corner with your, Bill Zadek or Lou Roselli throwing this stuffed animal. That's just got to make you feel like a man sometimes, right?
Right. Exactly. But if the kids like it, then hey, that's good. At least they got something to watch.
We mentioned Henry Cejudo earlier, and you got a chance to run into him the night you won the gold. A lot of people were at USA House, and we ended the Olympic Games second straight year. Varner won in 12. The last match of the tournament was Star Spangled Banner. Same thing this year with you in 16. And then I got to make the announcement that you became the youngest American gold medalist in history, and boom, you get to run into the other guy that you unseated. What was it like talking to Henry after that moment?
It was cool. He was super, super gracious, super, super cool to talk to about it. He just congratulated me and told me that he's proud. And he said if he wanted it to go to anybody, he wanted it to go to me, another Coronado grad. So
yeah, threw that one out there.
Cool. Yep. But it was pretty awesome.
What was funny is I was talking to somebody about wrestling. It's like, yeah, that guy over there, he's the youngest gold medalist in American wrestling history. And it's like, actually, and he's talking to the guy and then Tony Rotundo goes, I got to go get a picture. We run over in USA House. Let's talk about that experience for a little bit. After you win the gold, there's this thing called managing victory, and you got to go through the interviews and the process. What was that moment like from the time you got off the mat? And of course, you got to go through drug testing and the mix zone and the interviews like that. But from the time you step off the mat, which is probably 3:00 in the afternoon, to the time you show up at the USA House, what was that journey like?
It was fun. Yeah, I had to do a bunch of interviews in like the mix zone first. A couple with NBC, and then a couple with a whole bunch of different people in the wrestling within the wrestling sport, within the wrestling, people who do wrestling interviews. I had to do interviews with them after. And then I came back. I did my drug test. I had to do some more interviews. Then I had to take some pictures at the wrestling arena with my gold medal on. Then we got in this van and we were going to go to the, IBP, or I think is what they call it.
IPC, the International, IBC, International Broadcast Center.
Yeah, I had to go there. And while I was in the van, I did like a 10-minute Facebook Live video chat where all the people who just watched the match or fans of the Olympics could ask me questions. And that was really cool. Never done one of those before. And then I went to NBC, did a couple interviews there with those reporters, and then went back to shower real quick and met everybody up at the USA House.
Now, the USA House, for those who don't know, that is the USOC has this place where Olympians and their families can go. And before you arrived, I got a chance to meet a lot of your family, and it was just, you were sitting there, and then I remember your mom going, "Well, there's Kyle. Why aren't we over there?" It was like, "Well, go over there."
Right.
I mean, what was it like seeing your parents when you get to walk in there and be like, "Okay, wow, this is all over now"? I mean, after the match is one thing, but now that you've had a chance to let it soak in, you got all the interviews, you're now with your friends and family. What does that moment feel like?
Oh, it was a very special moment, The USA House is awesome. They have a lot of cool stuff to do in there, a lot of good food, and a lot of cool people, past and present Olympians. So it was cool getting to meet all those people and, seeing my family and being able to celebrate there with them was a lot of fun.
Who was the favorite Olympian that you met over the course of the 2 weeks that wasn't from wrestling?
Serena Williams.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, she was cool to meet.
Now, did you have a chance to talk with other Olympians from sports that you might not have known about that you're now going to probably pay attention to more so because of your Olympic experience?
Yeah, I talked to a lot of judo athletes because we trained, USA Wrestling trained at this place called Lonier, and it's like a YMCA, but USOC rented it out, so only the combat sports in America could train there. So I got to know a lot of the judo athletes, taekwondo, fencing, rugby players. So I'll definitely follow those sports more closely than I would typically. And then I liked watching the weightlifting a lot on TV. That was fun. And
what'd you think about that dancing guy from Kerbati who would weightlift and then dance off the stage?
Oh, yeah, I know. That guy's awesome. That's pretty cool that he can do that.
Now let's focus back a little bit on the training situation. One of your best friends and training partners at the Ohio RTC, Tervel Delagnev, made the semifinals for the second straight games, and you could see in his last two matches that his back was he just basically had nothing left in the tank. He tried everything he could. How hard was it for you to focus on your matches when you know that a guy that you train with and battle with is right there, giving everything he's got? He's trying, and he just couldn't do it the last two matches.
How hard is it for – what was the question?
Sorry. Yeah, how hard was that for you to stay focused on knowing that, you're after him?
Yeah. No, I mean, I was pretty focused. I mean, I knew it was going to be – Tervel really couldn't train too much, so I knew that whatever he did on the mat was going to be pretty awesome just to be an Olympian and – compete with minimum training is tough. So, I mean, he beat the returning silver medalist first round and then beat a good guy from Poland. So that was pretty cool to see. And his other matches, I mean, it's just hard to compete when you're hurt like that. And it didn't really mess with my focus at all because I was actually about to weigh in at that time, so I didn't even see his other matches.
What's a guy like that meant to you in your career and you personally?
Oh, he's meant a ton. I mean, he's helped me a lot technically, but the most mentally. The way that he approaches the sport is pretty different than most people. But I fully believe that if you think about the sport the way that he thinks about it and the way that he preaches it, you're going to be able to wrestle with a lot less fear, or wrestle with a lot less stress, and it'll be a lot more fun, and you'll be able to wrestle fully to your capability.
As we move forward to the next cycle, Bill Zadek, now the U.S. national team coach, and you had a chance to work with Bill when you were at the Olympic Training Center that senior year. What do you like about what Bill brings to the table, and what do you think Team USA's got in freestyle moving forward with Bill Zadek at the helm?
Oh, I love working with Coach Zadek. Our relationship began when I was a junior in high school, and Coach Zadek brings a lot of things to the table. I think number one is just his overall knowledge in the sport. His wrestling IQ is really high. He's super nitpicky with his technique. So I think he brings a lot to the table in that way. And then also just a positive guy. He's fun to be around, easy to talk to, can calm you down and relax you before competition. So I think just having his presence is going to be awesome all the time now. And I think he's going to develop a really good training schedule for us and get us prepared, because he's been there before. He's won the worlds and he knows what it's like to be an athlete. So he'll continue to help us grow as a country.
Now I want to go back to when you were in Fargo, and this has kind of made the rounds on Twitter, and I have to back up the story a little bit because I've been going to Fargo for 18 years, and I remember there's a kid from my high school in probably 06, 07. I thought he had the worst draw possible ever. And that year he drew Chris Perry first round and Mike Benefiel second round. So they were both ranked number one in the country at the time. I was like, man, Joey Massey got a bad draw. Last year I'm sitting in Fargo next to a guy, Brett Haas, who works for The Predicament. And he goes, yeah, look up my draw in Greco 2012. Okay, this has made the rounds. He wrestled you first round and Jaden Cox second round. Worst draw ever. I mean, what do you say to that?
That's pretty funny. Yeah, I saw that tweet. I remember his name. I know it would have been crazy if we wrestled in freestyle, because that's the sport. That's the style we are both Olympians in and both medalists. But still, even in Greco, that's pretty funny that if we had both drawn him.
Yeah, I mean, and he was mad because he's still bitter about it. He's like, man, I don't know if I want to be known as that guy. But then he comes to find out he beat the guy that took like seventh that year. So because of the vertical pairing, no. He's got to wrestle the number one guy at one weight, number one guy. I mean, you're 1 and 2, depending on which ranking you look at. But going back to Fargo, wrestling Greco, and you and Jaden having all those battles, and it was, a lot of them were the coin flip. I mean, it was really tight back in the day. What was it like wrestling him growing up and then being on the same Olympic team with him?
Yeah, I mean, he was a great competitor. He challenged me in a lot of ways that I typically wouldn't get challenged in high school. So, it was cool being able to wrestle with him back then, and now being on the Olympic team together. It was fun training with him. He's a great training partner, obviously, great wrestler, and a great person to be around. So it was fun getting to know him more personally than I previously have, rather than just competing against him.
Happy you guys aren't at the same weight class anymore?
I mean, if it is what it is, if he comes back to my weight class, then it'll just be in another exciting match that people will get excited for and that I'll be excited for. But happy that he was able to compete well in Rio. And I mean, we'll always be friends, and I'll always love him as a person. So it's cool.
We look at the situation that went through the Olympic Games and Jordan having a bad day, for lack of a better term, and then your fellow Marylander, if that's the name of they call you guys, Helen Maroulis winning an Olympic gold medal. It was definitely a lot of ups and downs for the United States. First, what did it mean for you to see Helen win a gold medal, being from Maryland, and become the first American woman to do that, and then to sit there and be part of something as the youngest American ever win a gold medal, both from Maryland? That's got to be a big point of pride for you.
Yeah, it was awesome to see her throughout the whole tournament. I mean, I watched every one of her matches. So she had a great tournament. She wrestled really well, came back to win a match last couple seconds, dominated a girl she wrestled close with, and then wrestled one of the best wrestlers of all time in the finals, and was able to beat her pretty handily. So that was pretty amazing and inspiring watching her compete. And she's a great person, so everything she gets, she deserves.
Now, I mean, she's a couple years older than you are, but you're all both from Maryland, which isn't the biggest state in the world. How often do you guys cross paths when you guys were growing up? I mean, you guys know each other fairly well, or is it just more of a casual friendship?
No, we know each other really well. We went to the same club as when we were younger. We went to the same club in Maryland, and we were actually drill partners.
Really?
A couple of the practices. So we know each other really well, and I know her family really well, and her older brother and her parents. So.
Okay, so you guys were drill partners, and she's 4 years older than you. Gee, okay, you got to figure out the weight classes here. I mean, okay, how big? What were you, like 40 pounds then or something, man?
No, I was probably like 80 pounds, and she was probably like 80 pounds.
Yeah, a 14-year-old and a 10-year-old or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'm sure that's a little factoid that I didn't know. You guys were in the same club. And okay, so we're going to move into. We got the questions and answers segment here. We got a couple from the web that want to throw out. I threw out the old hashtag Ask Kyle Snyder to see what we got. First question's from James Stockhausen asking, "What's your perspective on the athletes that were doping and the corruption outside of the competitive mindset? I mean, what do you think of the allegations of doping, the failed tests, and then, of course, the allegations of corruption with like what we saw with the Franklin Gomez match and things of that nature?"
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on the doping. I think most of them are doping. I think most of the people overseas are doping, and it doesn't really change whether or not I'm going to have to compete against them. So I'm still getting prepared, and if they don't catch them, then it doesn't matter, right? So I got to be ready to wrestle, but I think most of them are doing some type of performance-enhancing drug. And with the corruption, I mean, I don't know if the referees did that on purpose against Gomez, and I don't know why those calls were made, but I definitely think they were wrong. And it just sucks when a guy like Franklin or anybody in the sport gets screwed like that. You don't want to see that happen because you want the best guy to win.
Now, moving on to your college career, Gromit K9, who's actually a wrestling fan, Wallace and Gromit is the reference in case you're wondering. You're probably a little too young for that. But what are your pros and cons about your decision to give up endorsements to maintain college eligibility?
Well, I think the pros of it are I get to wrestle. I get to go back to university and get an education at a school that I love. And I get to compete with teammates that I love and be with coaches that help me a ton. And I get to wrestle in the NCAAs and Big Tens, which are big events and which are exciting. And get to go to Carver Hawkeye and do a dual meet this year. I've never done that before, so that's going to be cool. Still, a lot of college wrestling still excites me, and so that's good. I think, I mean, obviously the negative thing is, maybe losing out on some money that I could have made with endorsements and stuff like that. But I was smart about it. I made sure that I talked to some like sports agents and made sure that I wouldn't, it wouldn't be detrimental for me to go back to the college season if that's what I wanted to do financially. And they were like, no, it's just keep doing what you're doing and keep trying to be a good person, and everything will be all right.
Now, when you look at the people are going to ask about the Living Dream Medal Fund, which is not from the USOC. I mean, so where does that money sit for the next 2 years? I mean, it's waiting for you, right?
Nope. It sits in my bank account.
Oh, so that's one of those things that's okay.
Yep. That's okay. It comes through an operation called Operation Gold, and any money that comes through that fund, I can accept and spend on whatever I want to spend it on.
All right, what's the first stupid thing you're going to buy? Or have you already done that? Something you absolutely do not need, but you're a 20-year-old with a lot of money that you're like, I want to buy one of these.
I just bought a big screen TV, so that was the first purchase I made when I came back to the States. I don't know. Maybe I'll buy a massage chair. Massage chair?
Yeah, massage chairs. That's a good one. You gonna still mow your own grass?
Oh yeah. I mean, when I get home, I probably will have to. I'm gonna buy a car here pretty soon. Trade in my old car, buy a new car, and I don't know. I want to buy some real estate.
You know, there's a Roselli guy I know that knows a little bit about that too. You might want to talk to him.
He knows a lot about real estate, definitely.
Now, in terms of that TV, how big is that TV? Because it's just in time for college football season.
Yeah, it's 50 inches. So that's like I wanted to get something a little bigger, but that was like the only thing that would kind of fit in my apartment. So.
Yeah, so you're still in the college apartment though. You haven't gone big spender on that one.
No.
Couple more golds to go big spender, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Next question coming from Pete Kowalczyk, wrestled Greco for a while. UFC or WWE, which is a possible career path after you get finished wrestling?
WWE.
Have you given any thought to what your name could be?
I haven't. I don't know. But that would be a tough thing to come up with. Probably not Snyder Man, even though that's what a lot of people call me, but that's not a good WWE name. I don't know. I'll have to think about it.
Yeah, so you're a pro wrestling guy? You follow it at all, or is it just kind of one you just kind of know about it?
I just kind of know about it. I mean, I followed it a ton when I was younger, and I think it'd be cool to like run out there and do Stone Cold Stunner to somebody or something.
RKOs.
Yeah, RKO. So,
who was your favorite pro wrestling guy growing up?
Stone Cold Stunner. I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, I got to remember the age here because I'm thinking, okay, Stone Cold is growing up. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, you're 20. I'm 17 years older than you. You're making me feel old now. I'm talking Rock and Roll Express Road Warriors era. You're talking Stone Cold. At least you didn't say like The Miz or something like that.
Right.
That would have really been, that would have ended the conversation. And our last listener question from Cornell Robinson out of Missouri. He goes, In-N-Out Burger or Five Guys?
Five Guys, burgers and fries.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a DC Maryland chain, right? That's from out your way.
Exactly.
All right, now here comes the fun part. I got 10 questions in 90 seconds. It's called Short Time. Are you ready to go? You're going to put you on the clock. You think you can handle it?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready to go.
All right.
3, 2, 1, 0.
What's the best match you've ever watched?
Best match, Henry Cejudo, Olympic semifinals.
All right, you won the Olympic gold. What did you have for dinner that night?
I had pizza, chicken tenders, french fries, and cake, and s'mores.
Oh, nice. Who's the best wrestler people don't talk about?
Oh, best wrestler people don't talk about. I'm going to have to skip that. I can't think of anything right now.
All right, apparently they're not talking about him enough. What's your all-time favorite flavor of Gatorade?
Ice. Blue ice.
Best wrestling movie?
Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. What is the one everybody watches?
Vision Quest?
Vision Quest, yes, Vision Quest.
One that's older than you, we might add. All right, favorite international wrestler outside of yourself?
Got Salah.
You win the Powerball. What's the first college wrestling program you're going to start?
I would start USC. University of Southern Cal.
Southern Cal, not South Carolina. All right, just making sure because they're picky about that. All right, number 8. Who is the best JV guy on your high school team?
Best JV guy on my high school team? I think Jake Collins.
Favorite restaurant on the planet?
Chipotle.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, Ravens or Redskins?
Redskins all day.
We're not friends anymore. And what is your spirit animal?
A lion.
All right. Okay, you got out. Me, Redskins. I can't handle that, man.
You don't like the Redskins?
My whole family's Redskins fans. It was shoved down my throat as a kid. I had to rebel, man.
No, you don't have to rebel. You
I had to. I mean, it was like. Plus, my stepbrother, would always change his favorite teams every year, and it's like, I like the Redskins this year. I'm like, No, you like Green Bay last year. No, they're my second favorite team. I'm like, so anything my stepbrother likes by default, I had to dislike. That's why I don't like the Chicago Bulls, the Miami Hurricanes, the San Francisco 49ers, and anything out of the DC area. No offense. I don't like the Wizards / the Bullets. I didn't even like the Baltimore Blast. That's how bad it was. But that was more because of home team sports. But anyway, I can deal with the Nationals, not so much the Orioles, but. All right, Kyle, and in the time we got left, just kind of a open forum for you to people to thank and something that anything you want to talk about that we didn't get to discuss here on Short Time.
Oh, yeah, man. Thank you, Jason, for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. Thank my family. Thank everybody at Ohio State for supporting me. Thank everybody for watching the Olympics. It means a lot to me. Hopefully I'll get to meet some of you guys someday, and hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody has a good rest of the day.
And of course, Kyle, I mentioned this in jest. Actually, two things I got to finish up with. One, you are 3 for 3 at major events that I've announced. So you've won the Worlds, I was announcing there. You won the NCAAs, I announced there, in the Olympics. So I told Tom Ryan that I might need to move to Columbus to help your career. Actually, who am I kidding? You don't need my help. And secondly, I did con Mr. Snyder into wearing his Olympic medal because when he was coming around, we're getting pictures, and I had to do the whole picture thing. And I was like, well, Varner let me wear his in London, and that was kind of like one of those things. You're like, oh man, come on.
Right.
But I appreciate the opportunity, man. It's not too many times you get to see somebody you've watched since they're in high school. Of course, you're not that far out of high school, but win an Olympic medal and then let me wear the medal. So I am thankful for you for being such a great sport about the guilt trip I put you on.
No problem, man. Thank you for all you do.
All right, man. Kyle Snyder here on Short Time. And, you want to talk about some of the great wrestlers that you see. I've been doing this a long time. And Kyle Snyder, whenever he's wrestling, I really do my best to make a point to watch him compete. And I don't do that with every single wrestler that I like. Okay, I can go without watching Burroughs wrestle a couple times, but as many times, if there's an opportunity for me to watch Kyle Snyder wrestle, I make a point to watch Kyle Snyder wrestle. So he's just one of those kids. At 20 years old, I can still call him a kid. At 37 years old, I can call him a kid. It scares me that I'm old enough to be this kid's dad. If I were, well, yeah. Anyway, kind of, but yeah, you get what I'm saying. But, great head on his shoulders. I got to meet his family at the USA House following the gold medal performance on the final day of the Olympic Games, and just wow. I continually get blown away by how just level-headed and cool and calm and just chill under pressure that Kyle Snyder is. Now, moving forward, this is the first show we've done since August the 1st, the longest layoff of the Short Time Wrestling podcast. And as you know, I was in Brazil. I worked as the public address announcer for English in Carioca Arena 2 and Barra Tijuca, the neighborhood in Rio de Janeiro. And let me just say, I had a blast. As Kyle and I were talking about at the beginning of the episode, basically what we read about in the media and saw in the media, those things were true, but let's just be honest, it was overblown. If that's the microcosm of what you're thinking Rio was about, if you didn't go to Rio because you were worried about Zika and crime, well, I'm sorry that you got convinced by the media that, and not the sports media, not the wrestling media, but the media that said, okay, this is going to be terrible. I mean, it's like Terry Brands had mentioned on World Wrestling Resource Podcast, which you can go back and listen to at matttalkonline.com/WWR32. That's episode 32 of the World Wrestling Resource. We've complained about everything at every Olympics. I mean, in London, it was like the traffic or the transportation or the terrorist threats, and in Athens it was just technology. I mean, you were going to complain about everything. I think in Australia they were talking about poisonous snakes and funnel web spiders and stuff like that. Anyway, Rio was fantastic. Rio was, I mean, there were some issues with people. I knew some people that got pickpocketed. Okay, it's a big city, it's going to happen. Statistically, it's going to happen. And now with thousands of people coming in to a place, there's going to be some people taking advantage of that situation. Now, cool things about Rio. The food was excellent. Save the time. I had to eat a lot of beans and rice because in the workforce, which was part of what I was part of, was the workforce. I had to wear the yellow shirts and the tearaway shorts, which I'm actually wearing right now. I never thought I'd wear them again, but I put them on yesterday, and they're actually quite comfortable to wear around the house. But to sit there and go and eat just these corner cafes. They're just fantastic. For the most part, the beer was good too. I was a real fan of the Bohemia Pilsner, which was really, really good. Stayed away from the Skol as much as I could because that's kind of like just like the Bud Light of Brazil. I mean, it's water. Eric Sanders, who was a wrestler at North Dakota State, his younger brother Zach wrestled at Minnesota. Eric was over there. He actually was rocking a Matt Talk shirt and was all over like NBC Stream one day with a Matt Talk Online logo shirt. And then in the stands, like earlier that day, was with Henry Cejudo, who I'd given a Matt Talk shirt to a couple days earlier, and they were both wearing it. It was good press there. But later, the last night we were there, actually the day after we were done, I had a whole day. I went to Sugarloaf and I meet up with Sanders. And after we go to dinner with some folks from USA Wrestling and Andrew Farah from Virginia, we did a little bit of a beer tour at a beer bar and had like 4 or 5 different versions, maybe more than that. I don't know, of the Hefeweizens that Brazil had to offer. And let me tell you, the beer in Brazil was fantastic. Fantastic. And I'm a connoisseur of good stuff. And Eric is too, because he brews his own stuff. I've got a growler of Hefeweizen that I have still in my fridge from Fargo that he brews at home, and it's quality. Anyway, that was the good thing about the beer. Sugarloaf Mountain, I did not get the chance to go up to Christ the Redeemer. It was cloudy the days that I wanted to go and a little overcast, but I did go up to Sugarloaf. Amazing views of Copacabana Beach, and you could see Christ the Redeemer cutting through the clouds, and this place was so high. I had an opportunity to take so many pictures, and it was an amazing experience. I mean, there were some drawbacks with transportation and trying to go from Copacabana to Barra da Tijuca, where the arena is, and it's probably about if you were to go from my hotel and go the way they expected us to go, which was train, bus, it takes about 2 hours, and it's 20 miles. Well, then we took a taxi. We got a VAP, which allowed us to get in front of the Olympic Park and get dropped off closer. And then so the trip only took like an hour and 10 minutes total from the time we got picked up, from the time we actually walked into the back door of Karaoke 2. So, it's not ideal. It's not like, New York City, where I got to stay across the street at the New Yorker from Madison Square Garden and I get to walk across the street in 5 minutes. Okay. It's Rio. Okay. Things happen. There was a lot of people coming into town. So that was the only drawback was location of where I was staying in relation to the arena, but the location of where I was staying for things in Rio, if you saw my Facebook and Twitter, yeah, I got the Photobomb Seacrest show. I got to go down. I watched beach volleyball. I got to have some of the best steak sandwiches in my life. Julia Salata, Becca Leathers, and I actually they were the best steak sandwiches on the planet. We had 4 of them. That's how good they were. And I don't know what it is about foreign travel, but if you've got an opportunity to hang with Julia Salata on a foreign trip, do it, because it is generally the most fun you can have. You maximize your fun when Julia's around. We did it in Tashkent, Uzbekistan, which is a place you cannot have any fun. And we found our way to have a lot of fun in Tashkent. And then now Rio, fantastic. Good times. So many different people that impacted this trip. And Ken Berger, for example, he announced the London Games and has been part of the last couple Olympic Games, I think going back to 96. And without him, I would have not had probably the patience to work through some hurdles that we had. And his knowledge really was extremely beneficial. And I couldn't have done the job I did as the announcer in Karaoke 2 for the Olympic Games without the knowledge and expertise that Ken Berger had helped me over the years. And I've known Ken since high school. I mean, I've known somebody, somebody for 20 something years, you trust their judgment. And without Ken, I think I could have done a B+ job without Ken, but because of Ken's knowledge and his ability to understand how politics work and how you got to work through things you can't control, what you can't control, things of that nature, I think I did a much better job as a result of having Ken there to kind of guide me and get my emotions in check, because I get fired up still to this day. I'm not as emotional and like fly off the cuff like I was 10, 15 years ago when I was just a young, brash, arrogant wannabe, whatever. And to do this, again, I got to thank Ken Berger. You really can't put into words how much this guy helped me throughout the course of the week. So the crew and the production team in Rio 2016 was fantastic. And even though there were some issues that I'm really not going to kind of publicly air because those are internal, but they were, they helped me, maintain sanity and do a good job. And my goal was to do this for the athlete. Okay. The announcer's not the show. Carol Evan did a story on me back here in Minnesota. My hometown paper did, but yeah, that's nice, but I'm not the show. This is my show here. Short Time's my show. The Olympic PA, that is not my show. I was blessed enough to have the opportunity to be the voice. Now, let me tell you, I wrote this in a blog, and if you want to know what it's like, go to madtalkonline.com/Rio6, and that's my blog about what it was like to watch Helen Maroulis win the gold medal, and then how hard it was to explain what the role that a simple PA announcer, it seems like an easy job, but trust me, it's a lot more difficult than it looks. To maintain your composure when you've got to say, for the first time in history, you are the one who gets to say, ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem of the United States of America for our first ever women's wrestling gold medalist. You got it. You get choked. I lost it. I mean, I had to maintain it's the second time in my career I've lost my composure. The other was when Jordan Burroughs won his gold in Istanbul, and I was on the broadcast trying to keep it together. It's only the second time ever, but Helen that was just an amazing, amazing performance. And to see her do it in beating Saori Yoshida, amazing. There is so much to talk about from Rio, but Kyle Snyder was the focus of this episode, and I thank you for listening. If this is your first time listening to this show, thank you for checking out the Short Time Wrestling Podcast. Thank you for following me on Twitter and checking out my weather reports from New Brighton, even though I wasn't there. But if you like this show, if you like what you heard, I encourage you to subscribe via iTunes or the other various ways to subscribe to this show. If you go to MattTalkOnline.com, the right side of the page, you'll see a bunch of icons, whether it be Google Play, whether it be an Android app that's specific, an iOS app that's specific. They're both free. The iTunes, to go right to iTunes, you go to MattTalkOnline.com/get-short-time. You want to know how to get other things? Go to MattTalkOnline.com/listen. There's free apps. There's free everything for this episode. Now, if you like this show and the other shows on the network, and I got to give PA Power Wrestling a shout out, Earl Smith a shout out, and Kyle Klingman from the On the Mat program and the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dan Gable Museum, they were still putting out episodes while we were in Rio. So the network didn't go dark, but Short Time did, as Nancy Armour was our last guest. But if you like this network, and I got to mention this, that we are pretty much now listener supported. Sponsorship situation has changed with one of our sponsors, and they're still going to be involved in some manner, but financially their situation has changed, and this show is going to be more listener supported. So if you want to continue to hear these programs and the great guests and the great questions and just the insight that you don't find anywhere else, and creation of on-demand original content for the sport of wrestling, go to MattTalkOnline.com/join the team, and you can hit that Patreon link. That's Patreon, and contribute anywhere from $1 to $20 a month, whatever you want to contribute to what you think the quality of content of the show is. We're putting out anywhere from 15 to 25 episodes a month of on-demand original content for you, the wrestling community. We're not charging you to listen to it, but if you like what you hear and you want to support the effort that I'm doing here for the labor of love of this sport, this is what I do, folks. This is what I do. That's it, and it's for you guys. So if you like what you hear and you want to help contribute, we got some cool swag bags that we can send out, draft glasses, T-shirts, hats, some thank yous, stickers, all sorts of thank yous, including shout-outs on this program. But if you like this show and you like the network and want to see more content, go to MattTalkOnline.com/join the team and hit the various levels of contributions, whether it be Patreon or PayPal. I appreciate it very much, because those of you that have been with me from the start, it's it's not your fault, but it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's you're a big reason why I can do this stuff and why I do it for you. So I'm very thankful for everybody that has supported the network for the last going on now. We're starting our third year here soon, and more with that coming up. We're going to add a couple more shows as best we can, and we're just going to plug away. So again, you like what you hear? MattTalkOnline.com/join the team. Follow me on Twitter at Jason M. Bryant, and Matt Talk Online at MattTalkOnline.com. That's all I got for today. I'd like to thank Kyle Snyder, who's just this absolute badass, for coming on the show. And thank you, the listener. Thank you to fan. Thank you, the wrestling community, for allowing me to have this opportunity to do what I do for the sport of wrestling and for you. So for that, just remember, you haven't had a whole lot of time this month to do anything other than watch Olympic wrestling, but remember, you've always got time for Short Time.
show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MattTalkOnline.com.